Hello, everyone, and welcome to this new edition of Message of Hope. And today I have the pleasure to be with Rob Cook, who is a speaker host, and, and now very much involved in everything 3P. So, welcome, Rob.
How you doing? Thank you for having me. Excuse me.
And I will ask you the infamous question,
Oh, the
which
infamous
is
question. Uh-oh.
yes, it's only the same question. So, how having this understanding, how does that help you navigate stress or anxiety or whatever shows up in your life?
Oh, oh man. In a bunch of different ways. So for me, this understanding just changed everything about how I even looked at handling any of those, things that you named, and to growing, developing into seeing how those things you named as far as to deal with became advantageous for me to experience.
Mm.
So it started out that, yeah, I was super scared of the experience of anxiety or insecurity or sadness or any of that. But what this understanding did was first reset the paradigm that I'm not broken. And so there was a large portion of my childhood and adult life, excuse me, that was from the premise that I was broken. And so with that being the come from, it almost shaded opportunities in itself. Um, this understanding, I mean, it really, even the other day I was saying this, the understanding helped me realize that there's only been one limiting factor or one obstacle that has ever existed that stopped me from achieving my goals. And that's the misunderstanding of who I was. And this understanding pointed me to that through my mentor, Michael Neal. But to me, what I found with understanding I was connected to universal mind and that I couldn't be broken. What pointed me to the belief or the understanding that I was a spiritual being having a human experience. What seeing that I was creating my reality, not it being out there all set up to just snag me, I mean, that's pretty arrogant now that I think about it, in the sense that the whole world is out for my demise. It's like, wow, but I haven't even really did nothing for the whole world to be out for my demise. But they're out for my demise somehow, some way. You know.
And we're raised that way, in a
Oh
sense.
yeah, 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 yeah. Well, that's how you sell goods and services. I mean, you have to create a deficit. But yeah. And so when I gotta understand, and what's so interesting about it is when when I first saw it to be true, I didn't have any experiences to validate it as truth. So it was just a good feeling. That's it. That it was just like, okay, this feels good, but I don't have anything to, and so it was almost like a growth spurt I had to go through because there was nothing to compare it to, but it just felt good. It was like, why is this? There is no tension in my shoulders. I mean, the same words are being said from people that used to anger me, and I'm just like, why aren't we mad right now? What is happening? Like, it was almost like a layer had been peeled off of my filter, and certain things I begin to see. And it happened both ways. I began to see it to be true for everyone else, and that created this empathy and compassion. All the way to the levels of, even I was arguing with myself here just a couple weeks ago about having. Can you curse on your show? Do they? Can you?
Oh, I'm French Canadian. We curse. We have that
Okay,
long
okay, all right. I
past.
just want to be respectful of the way in which your audience here, but I was crying and angry at myself because I was going to curse this guy out who did something very wrong. He berated and disrespected a 16-year-old little girl. But as I get ready to cuss him out because I'm superhero Rob, I hear, Robert, you know life is from the inside out. So if that's his expression, that means that there is a pit of suffering that he's in. Because to do what he did do to the 16-year-old little girl has to be one of the darkest spaces you can imagine to be living in, if that's the way you express yourself. And I couldn't do anything but cry. Because that suffering sucks. It sucks. Like, it really sucks. Where are my books at? Oh, here we go. So this quote, this is Sydney Banks' book, The Second Chance. The quote says, to humanity, in the hope that this book may help alleviate some of the needless suffering. Right? That's who he dedicated the book to. And for a long time, I said this on a talk I gave not too long ago. For a long time, I couldn't understand why he said needless. I was like, but why would Sid say needless? Like, Sid, this is real. It's this. It's that. Like, I couldn't see how he could use that term needless until I realized he wasn't saying needless as a extent to how severe my pain and suffering was. He said needless to point me to it was optional. It was optional. So when that hit me, it was like, oh, okay, hold on. And I kind of just fell into a second chance. I began not to hold my past against me. And there's a quote I use just about everywhere. It's from a Bohemian evangelist named Miles Monroe. And he said, when the purpose of something is unknown, abuse is inevitable. And so me personally not understanding who I was, I abused myself, but also not understanding now what my story is allowed me to abuse myself. The mere fact that I can't change anything in my past means that that's not designed for me to bring forward in my future and hold and limit myself. That's a misunderstanding because that just doesn't make logical sense. just logically, that doesn't make sense. But boy, does it sure show me how many times I've been resilient. It does highlight for me how many times I have heard wisdom. It does point to me the times when I didn't know the answer showed up, so I didn't really have to worry. If I use it that way, it makes life fun. Because I'm not afraid of the experience. Right? What I mentioned earlier when I say anxiety and insecurity now, oh my God, I love to, I let me feel insecure because I know what insecurity means for me. I went on this track of going inside to realize when I felt insecure, it's because I was comparing myself. If I felt insecure about my business, it was probably because I was comparing myself to the person I follow most in business, Michael. And Michael's business does significantly better at the bottom line than mine does. But he's also been coaching and he's built his business to that. I'm fresh. I'm still under 5 years into this. So there's no way I can expect. Well, I can expect those results. It's just going to hurt when I don't get them. But my point is to be fair to myself, that insecurity shouldn't exist because those are not comparing the same things. If I compare relationships, well, it's only what I think your relationship looks like because I never go home with people or anything. It's only what you think the relationship is. If you, just all of that. Well, now I know if I get insecure, I don't have to worry about being insecure. I just got to see what I'm comparing to. And I know comparing doesn't work. I know it's not true. And I fall out of it. It's just cool. It's like you have Bill Pettit. I don't know if he's ever done any of these, if he has done them yet. He has this thing.
Not this the message of hope, but I know
Okay,
who he
not the
is.
message of hope, but
I've
okay.
done some of his
He
courses.
he has this thing he says um, about discomfort and being far away from the present, and I love it. And I say it like this. I say, when you're discomforted or when you're in your emotions, that's a call from present saying, "Hey, I miss you. Could you come back? could
Yeah,
you
famous
could you
lines.
could you come back, please? I miss you." I mean, that's it. Whichever one you want to take, whichever motion you want to put in there, it's only a phone call from the present saying, "Hey, I really wish you'll come home. I really wish you would." Think about a parent. Think about how when kids start going out and you give them a curfew because you want them to be safe or whatever. But if you told your kid to go out and that kid didn't come home, you're like, "Hey, would you just come home? Hey, I'm really worried about you. You're not home. Hey, like the farther and farther and farther and farther away from that presence we are, the uglier and uglier and uglier and uglier it gets. More discomfort. That's where your more is. People who chase that more, I need more. Okay. That more, that's in that area out there. That more. Yeah. That's all in that. That's way from where that phone call exists. And if you pick it up and you come back, you don't have to be worried about any of it.
I compared them to the rumple strip, the side of the highway. Now,
Uh,
when you get the rumple strip, that means you're about to hit the ditch, or and come back on the road. And I see that as, oh, you're going to get, of course,
yeah.
just go back in the now.
Ah, oh yeah. You better at least, because on the other side of that, you can take that too. And that's the part I like. It's up to you.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
awareness is, yeah, it's up to you. If you want to take the ride, hey, by all means, take the ride. But just know you're taking the ride. So that's what this understanding the has given me a second chance at my life experience, because I botched the first 30 something years of it, thinking from the outside in. And so I've been enjoying. No, it was actually the first 40 something, because I'm 2000. Yeah, first 40 something. So I'm just enjoying. I'm like 3 years old. So imagine me. I'm like a 3-year-old kid. I'm in toddler stage. So I'm learning. I'm meeting new friends. I'm out. I'll show up anywhere that we're having this talk. I'm a kid now. Because I do feel like it's giving me a second chance. And boy, do I love this experience. Not saying that I don't have the same things that happened to me. I got the same elderly grandparents that I had before the principals. I have the same family who was born and raised in Birmingham, Alabama, where race relations is very tense. I have the same military deployments before and after. So it's not that it was just I changed, or the way I saw myself changed. Um, and that's what I love about it. And that's the biggest story of hope I got. It's that, man, if you can get a glimpse of yourself, this thing becomes the funnest thing you've ever experienced in your life.
It will be the next best 50 years.
you know?
Well, thank you, Rob, for your wisdom. It was really inspiring. And if people want to find you, where can they find you?
um, you probably could jump on to www. I'm Rob Cook. That's IMROBCOOK.com. And from there, you can pretty much connect to anything from the podcast. You can find it on all your normal platforms: Apple, Spotify, Google, Amazon, Instagram, social media. I'm Rob Cook, same thing. Go out, join the unFit. uh, Facebook group with motivation, inspiration, all about pointing to this understanding. And yeah, thank you for having me.
Thank you.